And in an attempt to try and qualify for Gamers 8, we've already had 2 Terrans here flex their TVZ muscles and move on to that qualification match. Now let's see if another one can do it here, as they were so close in the previous bracket. But anyway, let's get to it here. Joining me to my left-hand side to get things going, Cats and Mr. Artosis. In 13 years, I don't think I've ever spoken to you in an online broadcast. What is going on? Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. The online cast, this is nice, man.
It's
I
chill.
can cast all these great games with you guys, but without wearing pants. It's amazing.
Well, unfortunately, due to my desk situation, I can't do that. So it's a first for me as well. Normally, I also do that on offline broadcasts. But anyway, let's talk about it. It is going to be our next TVZ on the way. SpeCial going up against Elazer. Cats, if we cast our minds back to last weekend, SpeCial looked fantastic in this matchup up until the point where you run into Cyril. But against Reina, he looked great in that first round, causing the big upset.
No, yeah, absolutely. SpeCial looked great on the multitasking in particular, and he does like mech, and I've always thought of Elazer as the type of player that isn't, like, he needs to be in his comfort zone, right? And mech is usually the type of thing to take you out of your comfort zone because of how rare it is, so I think it should be a very exciting match.
Should be, as Elazer brings a bit more of a fiery style, a little bit crazy, a little bit erratic sometimes to the matchup as a whole. Dan, coming in, seeing how things are shaping up. You must have seen the SpeCial games going up against Reina in the previous series, the previous weekend even, I should say. What do you think for SpeCial coming into this one?
Yeah, so SpeCial, I think, is actually playing like really well this year because he has been just a little bit up and down for the past few years. Occasionally, it feels like he really hangs with the world's top Terrans, and then sometimes he drops down far enough that I'm like, I don't know, I don't expect anything out of him. But like he's looked very good. Obviously, the games against Rainer, honestly, he almost made it out of that incredibly hard Katowice group, in which he did beat Elazer as well. I definitely do feel like he is a bit favored here, but Elazer, like you said, you know, his style can make him a bit volatile. So, you know, you have something small like a best of 3, things could go wrong for SpeCial.
Yeah, definitely could. Cats, your thoughts on Elazer and how he might approach this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, SpeCial beat Elazer, I believe, DRG and Solar, so he had an amazing run in the matchup. But Elazer, I think for him, he has to get the ball rolling, he has to get his economy situated, and then he can play his game, which is just swarm, right? So it kind of relies on him being able to defend the aggression of SpeCial and not letting SpeCial ever get to that snowball like we saw he got against Reiner, just kind of like similar to what just happened in the Clem Lambo series, where he's just running all over the place with Hellions and then Liberators, and Reiner had a much better defense than Lambo did in that last series, but it still was enough for SpeCial to overwhelm. So Elazer, I think, has to look out for that. He has to set up perimeters, he has to not get surprised, and then he has to get to the mid game where he gets to situate a good economy, and then he is the swarm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing on the opposite side of this, when you look at SpeCial, is I do have to agree with your guys' sentiments in that I feel like also SpeCial has always been, you know, a hard worker trying to attain those top positions and stuff like that, but it feels like even his multitasking, Dan, has gotten even better as of late. He's kind of putting on more pressure than usual, being able to hit those multi-pronged attacks. So I want to see some of that from SpeCial. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Like, that's what I think he was missing, like, maybe a year ago, because it did feel like last year he was maybe focusing more on himself, on more of his self-improvement and stuff than StarCraft 2. So I did have a lot of questions coming into 2023 about him, but it seems like he's like rededicated to the game a bit more, and I have liked the way that he's been playing. I think that he really can just get into his own groove here and show us that he deserves to go to Gamers 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It is time now to go to the game. And Cats, I appreciate that Paul Heyman move that you made in the intro for your game. But anyway, we have got ourselves our next TVZ on the way. It is going to be SpeCial going up against Elazer.
That's right, SpeCial versus Elazer, best of 3 to determine who moves on to a qualifying match and who moves into the lower bracket to try and qualify there. Casting with Roddy for this one as well as the next, but this one, I am really feeling it for SpeCial. What do you think, Roddy?
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's well, Actually, it's a bit of both. Yes, SpeCial has been great over the last few months, and he really surprised us positively with how well he was playing at IEM Katowice, and he got so close to advancing, and he kind of deserved it. I think everybody agreed upon that. But it's also just that Elazer is not in his best form at the moment, and he hasn't been for a little while. We know that he is a very active young man who loves to run, and he obviously is great when it comes to taking care of himself, but it feels that he has lost a little bit of that joy in playing StarCraft. And if you want to qualify for a tournament like this, where basically we're going to have 16 of the absolute best players in the world, I think other than just being great, you also need to enjoy yourself. So I hope he can find some joy today and we can see the Miko vault, because if we do that, then he's obviously still a fantastic player. In the bottom right side of Dragon Skills, it is Team Liquid Sea Laser.
Roddy, this is getting weird. In the top left, everyone's sending workers. This guy is sending 2. It is SpeCial.
And he scouts it immediately. Wow, what a scout. And I'm not sure if Elazer's hatch actually saw the SCV there. Do you think it did?
I don't think so. Wait. SpeCial sees that and is still gonna proxy?
With everything?
Yeah, that's what he already had. The first barracks down, so fair enough. But the second one could absolutely go at home and help defend against this, and you could get best of both worlds, I feel.
What if he just tries to get a whole bunch of Marines out as quickly as possible, and then he pulls all the boys to the other side of the map and he starts flying over his orbiter as well? Yeah, zombie Grub, big brain.
Yeah, Roddy's figured it out, guys. This is exactly how it's going to go down. I can't wait to see it happen. This is not a game of StarCraft 2 that I am familiar with. I know that obviously SpeCial as a Terran and almost a borderline Korean Terran, proxy racks, no big surprise. But Elazer might be an aggressive guy. He is not necessarily prone to proxy hatching. Weird.
Yeah, this is super weird because you often ask yourself who is going to hit first, right? Because the person that hits first should have an advantage. But I have the feeling that Elazer technically has a very good setup to defend this, right? If you have a queen and a couple of roaches in your main base, you get a Ravager as well if you micro roach back a little bit. It kind of feels that Elazer has potential to just stabilize in his main base. And if he does that, he's going to be absolutely cooking in this game. But SpeCial wants to hit first. He's already going for it. But 3 Marines don't exactly hit like a truck. Killing an Overlord this early, though, that's pretty big.
That is actually really nice. Obviously, Elazer just having no idea that this was on the way. It gets so darn awkward. I mean, he's going to build roaches at home, and roaches are going to be very effective against an early number of Marines, and the bunker can't get any closer to something dangerous because creep exists. But drones are already going down. Okay, just a couple, not too bad. And then the number of Marines will increase, and that is certainly what I'm worried about, right? Because 10 Marines will definitely take on a lot of these units. Already one roach almost going down. They've escaped, but then all these drones go down.
The SCV wants to get the roach, and it's so close. Hero SCV, the drilly boy, gets the final hit off. And now Elazer's already lost 2 roaches. He's going to lose the roach number 3 as well. And I guess in the end, it really just came down to whose rush is going to hit first. And it definitely was a SpeCial's rush so far, as he comes out of this with a 7-worker lead. Can Elazer get something done on the other side of the map? Because I do see something blinking. It is a single roach. Well, that's going to take a little while.
It can't get surrounded, man. Surround's gonna be fairly effective against a single roach. Oh my goodness, the micro battles that is going on. Now Ravagers are forming. Cocoon is very, very low. It is gonna finish, so Ravagers with that extra range gonna make this a lot easier to micro against those Marines, as long as they have the space to do so, and that is the trick to this. If they have to run away, then the drones end up getting slaughtered, and then, you know, we're still back in SpeCial favored position because he's gonna have so many more workers.
Wow, okay. The micro obviously here is not top-notch by Elazer. SpeCial's doing a very good job in pretending he wants to pull back with the Marines, then suddenly right-clicking forward again just to get a couple of extra shots off. The Drilly boys, by the way, also got another kill on the other side of the map. It may not have been the immediate surround, but in the end they did manage to kill that roach too. So SpeCial is here with a 10-worker lead, and it's not like Elazer could ever even saturate this weird random proxy base, right? Because SpeCial could literally attack it from his main.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not going to get mining anytime soon. This is effectively one base. It really is just one base, and it's hardly even that as far as the amount of drones are actually mining off of it. So SpeCial, I mean, what a move by SpeCial to, I guess, know perhaps that he was going to win by just continuing to 3 racks proxy, but he was right about it.
Yep, there's a bunker there as well. I don't think there's an overlord in position, so it's going to be very difficult for Elazer to take care of it. Okay, we have one overlord flying towards the natural now. Still going to take a little while. SpeCial, yeah, can just build bunkers for days. He knows that he's in a great economic position here. He knows that he took down a decent amount of drones, and on top of that, already picked off a couple of roaches and ravages. And all we really need to do is try to get a factory unit out there too, and then we are absolutely cooking. Elazer does get a freebie from the low ground. That's nice, but he's going to need a whole lot more.
Yeah, he is clearly planning on trying to bust SpeCial, hoping that SpeCial is just underestimating how much the Ravagers can do. But I don't think that's the case, especially even pulling more SCVs, double bunkers still up and running, buying as much time as possible for a Marauder. A couple of Marauders, actually, with Marauder slow. And then that bunker will do exactly what it needs to. It's actually still alive. Lazer's trying to get to that one shot, but it's not there yet.
I think if all the shots land immediately, maybe you can just right-click, right? If it drops that low on HP, maybe actually move the Ravages forward for a split second, because all it really takes is 1 or 2 hits from these Ravages, exactly like that Elazer. Now finally does get one of the 2 bunkers. Still that other bunker to worry about. I'm a tiny bit surprised about the 4th and the 5th barracks or whatever it was as a follow-up, rather than a factory, because this many Ravages is still something that SpeCial is going to have to respect. Now he does have concussive shells, but he needs a great fighter. He needs to make sure that he does not mess up.
Yeah, with Marauder slow, it really does help out. I mean, you obviously increase the chance that you're going to kill something if they try to retreat, they try to micro, but then also if you have to run away, you're pretty much free to do so, almost free. At this point, I think SpeCial really is just playing fast and loose because he's pretty sure that he's won. So that's why he's even in this position now where he has to go to his high ground, is because I think he's a bit overconfident, but rightfully so.
Yeah, I think that was a bit much there towards the end, especially when he's trying to play dodgeball with the corrosive balls, but he can get away with it because he knows that he can produce units for days, and for Elazer, it's a whole lot harder to crank out roaches and ravages of 13 drones. And he's still building a couple, but I don't think it was the prettiest fight there for SpeCial, but it was good enough. He can get away with it, and I think all he needs to do is just do that one more time, as he's probably going to end up losing a couple of these depots. Nice micro there on one of these low HP ravages. I mean, Elazer is still making this a tiny bit close. It should never get close, Zombie Grub, but if you're not careful as a Terran, this could still go wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. And SpeCial is towing that line when he could have easily just stepped 5 feet backwards and been like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near the line. He could have just defended on his high ground, bought a little bit more time, and then had however many extra units and still high ground. Like, it is all in. And SpeCial knows that, which is why he was willing to lose some SCVs trying to hold the low ground. But, yeah, overcommitting, being actually overconfident, not guessing how the situation is really going to go absolutely correctly, it can still kill you. And this is not a situation that anyone can say that they're usually in.
Nope, the army supply is really not that promising. Now, Stim is about to finish up, and that's obviously awesome, but Ravages can be somewhat decent against Marines and Marauders, even if they have Stim, if there are no medevacs to support these bio units. But obviously, with every second that goes by, the mules are doing their thing. SpeCial still enjoying his 6-worker lead at this point, and it's very difficult for Elazer to get high ground vision, because I think he lost that Overlord that was chilling here, that was incredibly low HP. That's why he's going to bring another one forward, but now these bio units are going to stim down their ramp and really hope for SpeCial they don't get stuck, and in the end they do not get stuck. But he can really see that the Ravages do pack a bit of a punch, and if there are no medevacs to support these bio units, these fights are often a whole lot closer than what you expect them to be.
Look at all the barracks. Like, you should outproduce this, and again, that is what SpeCial is believing in. But gosh, what a way to make this game closer than I absolutely agree it would have to be. The factory is just the safest unit for Terran's early game, even heading in sometimes to a bit of a mid game, right? Tanks properly sieged can be the most helpful, but certainly for the early game, factory is the way to go. Playing into bio and then not quite guessing the actual correct pull of the army, you know, underestimating Roach Ravager, is made this closer than it ever should be. But SpeCial does win. That's what was supposed to happen. That's what he figured would happen. And I guess Elazer kept on surprising him by basically not tapping out. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if SpeCial was thinking to himself, like, come on, dude, come on, no, seriously, no, stop, come on.
That final fight in the main, so obviously not the moment where Elazer actually tapped out, but right before when he had that morphing Ravager, he cancelled it, he went back into a Roach, even though the Roach had like 7 HP. I think with one extra Ravager or Roach there to battle those 4 or so Marines, I actually think that fight goes in favor of Elazer. Legitimately, I think fell 1 unit short there in the end, and I'm sure that he's kicking himself a little bit for a couple of the minor micro mistakes right in the early game. Losing a Roach to the SCV, that's not supposed to happen. Losing that one Roach on the other side of the map to the SCVs, not supposed to happen. And then he even lost the Ravager here on creep in the main base, because those fights on the other side of the map, they got awfully close. And of course, all kudos to SpeCial, right? I love the pull back and then the immediate right click forward towards that Ravager. You can really see him not attack moving, but move commanding to get as many shots off as possible. Well done by SpeCial, but I still think that's an unforced error on the side of Elazer. It's just not supposed to happen.
Right. Yeah, a lot of this game was not supposed to happen right from the get-go. A full dedicated 3 racks proxied against a proxied hatchery already is a situation that happens one in every 2,000 professional games. I'm sure it happens all the time on ladder, but maybe even not even that. I certainly haven't seen this. And then afterwards, the continued development of Ravagers and the Terran choosing to go into bio as a follow-up has reduced that 1 in 2,000 to a 1 in 5,000 or some insanely high number. It's just, this is not how we would expect any part of the TVZ to go.
That second last fighter that we watched, it's legitimately like 4 Marines or something with Stim that in the end close out the game for SpeCial, and then your thoughts really go back to that early game. One more Roach, one more Ravager there, and it could have very well gone in favor of Elazer. But of course, maybe if there was one more unit, SpeCial would have been a bit more careful, and he wouldn't have been trying to play dodgeball with those corrosive balls. A pretty bizarre game to kick things off with. In the end, the man that we expected to take the 1-0 lead did take the 1-0 lead, but not exactly in the way we thought it was potentially gonna go down. And you know what's funny is that I a while ago had the opportunity to cast a bunch of games of Hon Mono. I'm sure you're familiar with the Korean Terran player. Not an ultra big star name, but he has a lot of these games where it's like proxy barracks into another follow-up, into another follow-up. And I was shocked that certain fights did not go his way. And I'm like, holy smokes, how good are Marauders here? But if bios don't have upgrade and there are no medevacs to support it, the Ravagers are actually really good against Stim bio.
Yeah. It kind of effectively puts it down to a tier 1 versus tier 1.5 situation. So I can kind of explain it, but more on that in a second. In the top right of Royal Blood, now down a game, he is Elazer.
And in the bottom left side, a lot of us were expecting some Banshees, some Cyclones with Macfield, maybe some Drilling Claws and a lot of Blue Flame Hellions. Instead, it was just the good old boys leaving town. But he took the 1-0 lead with it, representing Psystorm Gaming, hailing from Mexico. It is SpeCial.
And of course, playing from Korea, actually. So that actually makes the micro even more impressive, right? They're playing probably North America, whatever server it is. So nicely done by SpeCial, who is going to go back to, I think, one of his just... To me, this forward barracks wall-off in SpeCial really is, like, it's his thing. Even though I know Maru's done it, Bjorn has done it a whole lot. Elazer does it as well. But I feel like SpeCial was one of the first guys to really be doing it consistently, although this is unique, actually just a one barracks. But anyways, he was doing consistently even a couple or a few years ago, where it feels like it's a bit of a newer thing for Bjorn. So I think he's usually very comfortable doing this, but as I said, it's usually 2 barracks. So this is a factory expand, basically.
Yeah, if it's TVP and it's on the high ground, I'll be like, yeah, we see this a lot. And no, it's definitely a little bit surprising. SpeCial, I feel like sometimes has openings in the early game that is very difficult to explain. And then even when you ask him about it, he's got some reasoning for it. But yeah, I guess we can use some of the TVP logic here, or even the Protoss versus Terran logic, right? Where if it's on the low ground, it does come out a bit quicker and it makes its way to the other side of the map slightly earlier, but it does feel odd.
Yeah, that's a new development then, as CV gets proxied. So I guess we're going to have some proxy shenanigans, whether it's for, well, it's got to be Hellion Opening's like Liberator harassment, just basically getting as much harassment done as possible very early on. But, well, it just... Elazer shouldn't be able to pick up on this. So he's not going to know, and he's not going to have like everything ready to go, or maybe the drone finds it. Maybe. No, the drone's going to go the direction. But
mean,
it
we
still
have to
feels
think
like
a
something you can handle.
Yes, but obviously I cannot imagine a world where Elazer didn't watch SpeCial against Rainer from last weekend, right? And SpeCial literally did this against Rainer on Dragon Skills, where he had that starport on the top right side of the map, and he just built Liberator into Liberator into Liberator, and I think he tried it on Babylon against Zero as well. So, I mean, if you've done a little bit of homework, you could A, be looking for this, or B, at least keep it in the back of your mind.
Yeah, the NeoHumanity, like multiple Reaper opener as well, which we were kind of basically a little confused by, and then other things happened in the game that kind of made us question if this was the true intent or what was going on. Well, nothing's making us question what SpeCial is planning. This has all been his plan. Elazer has not done any type of early pool shenanigans to mess things up, and his plan is to be a big old bully with 3 Reapers. It's actually going, this is throwing me back to like Heart of the Swarm Overgrowth era, to be honest. If you guys remember that, it was a trip, but yeah, that reactor didn't swap over. So the Reaper's a little more powerful in terms of killing a queen straight up, yet still protected by those Hellions.
Yeah, could be a problem, right? Because that first Liberator is already flying into the natural, and now one of the queens is lacking. It might actually go into the main base. Nope, I don't hate going into the natural, because that means that it's easier for the Hellions and the Reapers to potentially help out here as well. It does seem that Link's speed kicked in, and Elazer got a bit of a surround, picked off the majority of these early game units, but in return lost the queen, lost 4 drones, lost some mining time, and obviously this Liberator is not done yet, and this will definitely not be the last Liberator that we see in this game.
And Elazer, if he thinks about it, should know that this is proxied and thus more likely to have Liberator after Liberator. It may be into Banshees even. But the problem is he thinking about it while also dealing with the aggression and now trying to issue a counter, which won't work out. That the wall is still there after all. Reaper? No, okay, not going to get anything else. But Elazer's so far not building a Spore Crawler in that natural, which would be the best place, and then not checking around for any proxy starport. It's lifted anyways. This second Liberator is doing far less. Maybe opening up the opportunity in the main, though? Oh, no, actually, there we go. Well handled.
Yeah, in the end, this actually all went pretty well, because I was scared for Elazer when he lost 1 queen before the party truly even started, and I was like, oh no, this is going to get gnarly, because I can already see this snowball out of control with all these Reapers, they're Hellions, they pick off a queen, and the Liberators show up, and games like this could end. This is very cute. It's almost like SpeCial anticipated this, so he tried to siege up. This also means that the Lings are out of position, and SpeCial is going to go for the drones. Line them up, baby. That's a whole lot of drones going down 11, and the Hellions not even done yet. They're gonna get 1 or 2 more big shots off. Oh, what is it with Hellions and killing drones today, Zombie Grub?
Well, it's the fad now. I wish I could go ahead and join that fad, but 16 drones this time around, 21 in total. I mean, clearly the goal of SpeCial's opener here is just to find those opportunities. You basically do so much, so spread out across the bases that a Zerg player who is trying to do the Zerg thing, drone first, army later, is going to have some possible underreactions, just not have everything all in place, or, you know, not want to build a Spore Crawler, then regret it when the second Liberator shows up or what have you. So Elazer did finally make a pretty big mistake not having the defense on his 3rd base, but at least he does have room to breathe now. 4 bases, building up that drone count, keeping an eye on the star. That is a very odd setup. Keeping an eye on the starport, and then now only does SpeCial get his 3rd location, but it is already forming.
Oh, the queen is actually gonna go off 3 to 1 shot that super low HP Liberator. Yeah, I love it too, Zombie Grove, because we see these kinds of games almost every single day, like at TVCs that is high level. But if you ask me, when is the last time you saw Proxy Starport get a reactor to the top left side and then being protected by a low HP Liberator? I don't think I've ever seen this exact scenario. Now the Marines are gonna show up as well, though, to punish that queen that went off creep to gun down that Liberator. What is happening? The supply looks decent for Elazer, but he is going to lose the queen. We even tried to drop some creep there to make sure that the queen could run away quicker. What a bizarre just scenario unfolding in front of our eyes.
I think it's fair to say we cast a lot of StarCraft, and this best of 3 has already thrown 4 or 5 curveballs. completely unexpected, which is lovely because if it is going to be a 2-0 possibly, then I would prefer a 2-0 with some wacky games. And the previous matches today, SpeCial does seem to be in some proper control of the scenario. Combat Shield is at the finish. Upgrades have yet to finish, but they are much faster than Elazer. So these Marines will soon be supercharged, super powerful. And Elazer doesn't have any Banelings, which might be okay if he had upgrades. Okay, the Banelings now form, and now he should be fine.
Yeah, but they are slow Banelings, and they will still be slow Banelings for quite some time. I would love a scan here from SpeCial. There is a Widowmine there, friendly fire. That's a whole lot of friendly fire indeed, and it means even Zerglings can just chase down these Marines. Great job there by Elazer, dragging that Widowmine shot into the heart of the Marines, because that looked very dicey without Baneling speed.
A lot of possibilities of Baneling snipes and frankly just, again, continued controlled aggression if that Widowmine doesn't help out. You know, SpeCial certainly still has a lot more army hiding off of creep, properly protected. This Widowmine shot is more so what SpeCial was hoping for, actually getting in the middle of the Lings, not almost the middle of his Marines. And then Elazer continuing to fight this off of creep, out upgraded. It's a bit dangerous. He was going off the fact that the Marines were getting awfully low, Medivacs out of energy, but and the Banelings, you know, getting their cervical hooks. Elazer just wants more room to breathe, really, is what he's trying to do. Get as far away as possible so I can plant some creep down and actually get prepared.
That starport has now landed on the top left side, but there is a single Zergling preventing it from going down, because I actually think that SpeCial tried to build another reactor there, which is quite adorable. In the center of the map, there is very little creep. That obviously is a problem. Elazer tried to split up a couple of Zerglings to go for a tiny counterattack. The 1-1 upgrades did kick in, but SpeCial left a few units behind, and so far it's just not good enough yet for Elazer, but he is hanging in there, and he's still moving all these queens around.
Yes, he is hanging in there. The overall state of the Zerg is still a little sus with that lack of creep spread, but going on to 5 bases and a relatively healthy economy since those early drone kills at the very least has been propping Elazer up. Finally getting onto the upgrades. Actually going to be playing into Hydras, which is a little more kind of normie than I was expecting for Elazer, but he also has Burrow, which is kind of that special twist that we like to see from Elazer's style of Zerg play.
All right. SpeCial's dropping a CC on location. There's a 1 HP medevac there, fully loaded, trying to fly into the main base, but Elazer had queens in position. That Zergling is still preventing that starport from landing, but I think finally some buy units showed up, and there was a Widowmine that could have potentially picked off that one Ling as well.
Oh my god.
Big Widowmine potential there. In the end, it actually settles for just a couple of Lings. A good job. Now it flies into the main, but there are still more queens there. The Polish Zergs, they never really stop building queens, and this army does not have any medevacs because that starport hasn't been able to land in forever.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly why. SpeCial, I think, getting a little too over-aggressive. He's getting a little too fancy, basically. On the right side, he went to go snipe Banelings and then made himself get trapped. And the medevacs didn't follow suit like he was expecting to just instantly pick up the bio. So that was what caused such a big explosion from the Banelings. And then just flying into the queens was... there's the good Widowmine hit. And then on the left side, going without medevacs again, a possible just sacrifice of units that didn't get something huge like the hatchery or 20 drones. SpeCial is kind of playing like last game, and the idea that I think he is maybe overestimating his position, really wants to deliver on the momentum, and Elazer's not letting him. Elazer's actually holding on.
Tiny bit odd that there, in the end, the starport died, but it was just Zerglings attacking that starport. There were no Hydras in the mix yet, there were no queens, so technically he could have just put it into the sky for a split second longer, but did not want to do that. So now we are still on the other side of the map, while we have 0 medevacs. There was one more decent Widowmine hit. This is crazy. Now we have 2 starports going down at the same time, as the supply still looks somewhat even. Elazer does have a decent amount of minerals in the bank. If he could only spend that, he'd be absolutely cooking, because he could have a pretty big and hefty army supply lead.
Yeah, some indirect damage, you know, the queens being pulled left and right and just probably not getting in on top of his injects has caused Elazer to have a macro problem because of 1,600 more minerals worth of army. He would definitely be clobbering this particular push out. It looks like he might still do okay, a lot because of the lack of medevacs. Those Hydras are actually like sustained damage, right? Damage over time, which medevacs are usually great at dealing with. They're medevacs. So the Hydras kind of stood their own against bio, which usually wouldn't be the case if it was bio with medevacs.
Nope, and obviously every stim hurts so much as well. It's like, okay, you can stim and you're gonna do all right with encirclings and banelings for a split second, and you can avoid the hydras, but obviously if there's nothing to heal up your army, that second stim is really going to hurt your army, and a third stim is almost unimaginable without any medevacs around to heal up these units once more. So Elazer will finally be able to spend his money. We've got a bunch of hatcheries in the main base as well. I think he got that from Dark Zombie Crop, because Dark told me he does that every game, you know.
Yes.
And he will be able to keep his money low, and it's starting to look better and better for the Polish Zerg, but obviously not there yet, because it's not like we've got Hive and Lurkers and all these Hive tech upgrades, but it's just looking good for Elazer as long as he can keep on spending his money and just on top of his macro.
Yeah, now Dark does it quicker. It's kind of part of his plan. Elazer was a little bit more of a reaction. He realized he was not getting all his injects, or his hatcheries weren't getting up as expansions like he expected. Another thing that SpeCial really missed out on is we do see Elazer suddenly taking some map control but losing a base back at home, is that he is playing a mostly mass bio style, so it is very momentum based and obviously gives you a lot of units to spread around, but then you don't have medevacs with it, and it feels very much like it's not synergizing correctly. And on top of that, SpeCial was also delayed on his 2-2 upgrade, so it's supposed to have a bigger advantage there. It's actually been even on the 2-2. Medevac drops will go into the main base of Elazer, while Elazer is still trying to find this damage on the other side of the map. Elazer never stopped, actually, and now the supplies heavily in favor of the Zerg. That's going to be it.
There were 4 links killing 20 SCVs at the new third base of SpeCial because it was still upgrading into a planetary fortress, but it wasn't quite a PF yet, so just 4 to 6 links killed every single SCV there. This army will get pushed back on the other side of the map, and Elazer has tied things up after a very unique and pretty bizarre game on Royal Blood, where it looked dicey for a little while, and then we just had the weirdest battle over the starport in the top left side, with a queen off creep, unit showing up, and then that starport not landing for minutes straight. I don't know what I watched, but I do know I will remember it for a very long time.
It was a game of StarCraft. Now, I think you can absolutely see what SpeCial had planned. So he went those 3 Reapers that do pack a little bit more of a punch to Queens. So he's going to pull them out of position. He was possibly going to threaten them more than a Hellion opener does, so the Liberator can get more damage. Then he's going to follow up about as quick as possible with really mass bio, like as much bio as possible. Not even a whole lot of factory production, just a handful of Wood Mines every so often. And in order to expedite that even more than usual, he ended up keeping his proxy starport proxied, so he didn't have to send it back home, lose out on medevac production. So the idea was to really get the ball rolling and keep the ball rolling. But I think like this engagement actually went much worse for SpeCial than he was hoping for. And then the starport being vulnerable really bit him in the butt. That ended up being a huge problem, again, even more because he was going for mass bio, a style of play that depends on medevacs constantly healing you up and running around.
Yep, that one Widow Mine that did a lot of friendly fire really took a lot of the wind out of the sails of SpeCial, and at that point Elazer like, oh cool, now it's going to be easy for me to survive until I have Baneling speed, and once I've got Baneling speed, I should be okay. And then obviously he just did a great job in keeping track of that starport. He's like, nope, I'm not gonna let you land it on the 9 o'clock position either, and you're gonna want to land it in the center of the map, that's fine, but I'm still gonna try to be there, I'm gonna harass it, I'm gonna deny it, and it just took way too long for SpeCial to get the medevac production back up and running. Pretty bizarre game, Zombie Rob, but definitely a fun one.
Yeah. And then we could even see towards the tail end of these highlights, I was wondering, and I just got confirmed, he was using 2 starports as literally just single production starports. He was just in such a hurry. He could not wait to add on a reactor, which is a very long building to wait for. And then he also didn't have the APM back at home to swap off, which also would have been, you know, then punishing his Marine count. So he was just like, 2 starports, and then like, let's go, let's try and make this work. But it was all awkward. All the momentum that he built up really got cut out from under him after the Baneling got that hit, after the Widow Mine got the hit actually, and then he didn't have medevac production.
I also felt like he fell for the classic where the Zerg is running around with a whole bunch of queens in the center of the map, right? They're battling the spreading creep, and it's like, oh, that means that the doors are open to drop the main base, right? And he picked up like 40 supply of units with relatively low HP medevacs. He's like, whoa, you still got queens? Flew them back, and then a little bit later he tried again, and obviously it did not quite work out because this man had queens 4 days and he needed them, tying things up. Can he get a W here on Gresvan? Representing Team Liquid, this is Elazer.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran for Psystorm Gaming, he is SpeCial.
You know, one of my all-time, well, I mean, now I'm kind of building it up to more than what it actually is, but a funny memory I have from our BlizzCon days is that one year where both Elazer and SpeCial made it into the playoffs of the WCS Global Finals. I think they were either 2 of the 3 non-Koreans or they were the only 3 non-Koreans in the playoffs back then, and we had a live drawing in the ESL studio in Burbank, and all the players obviously nervous, right? Like, who's gonna play who? It's the 8 best players in the world, trying to figure out what their bracket is going to be. And then when they did the drawing, Elazer, and then he got matched up with SpeCial, and then SpeCial was like, yes, and then Elazer looks at him, he's like, yes, and they were like, yes, and they were both trying to flex how happy they were that they got each other, you know. It's like, what do you mean you're happy? I'm happy I got you. You're not happy that you got me. And it just kind of kept on going. In the end, it was SpeCial who won that quarterfinals back then, without a doubt the biggest series that these two have ever played against each other. Before, I think he lost against Sue in the semifinals, or at least a Zorg, maybe Rogue, but it's cool.
SpeCial lost against in the semis.
Yes,
BlizzCon?
after he beat
okay.
Elazer back then.
Yeah, I actually don't remember, and I cast it, so.
It was a Zerg, it was 3-0, and it had burrowed roaches. That's all I remember.
Gosh, yeah, I wish I knew. And actually, I could cast with Artosis. Maybe he knows, but or not super important. But that is a funny story.
It was Sue.
Okay, yeah. That is a funny story because I actually don't remember that at all. I do remember the live drawing. It was such an amazing setup. We definitely planned that, hours in advance. Maybe minutes, but yeah, it was good times. These two have represented the non-Korean scene, I think, more than people give them credit for because, well, it was a few years ago, right? That was 2017. That was 6 years ago, and it really pains me to say that and to hear that me saying it. But yeah, it was so long ago. And then they've always been striving to make that happen again. Elazer in the round of 8 of a global tournament, global finals, and SpeCial in the round of 4. Not quite able to get there, but obviously everyone's eyeing this particular tournament as a possibility for being on the world stage, but also getting a lot of moolah.
Yep, and that's definitely what they got back then as well. I think after that tournament, Elazer's best performance ever was probably the GSL versus the World, right? Roughly 3 years ago at this point. I mean, time flies. I don't know. Kind of lost track of Corona. Maybe 4 years ago at this point,
where
Elazer did make it into the grand finals of a big StarCraft tournament that took place in Korea, and he actually had a good showing in the grand finals too. So definitely still some success for these guys. And this year has honestly been, I think, already a better year for SpeCial than some of the previous years, where sure he was dominating the Latin American region, but we know that he's capable of that, right? We kind of expected just a little more, just a little peak every now and then, and there just haven't been too many peaks ever since those glory WCS days.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't help that, it was during the COVID era that SpeCial was coming into those season finals from Latin America and then, cross server and not in his ideal situation. And I'm sure just as far as who gets impacted more about who doesn't, have a crowd, there's also that to play in. But yeah, I just want to reiterate that he's playing from Korea. So the fact that he chose last game to play that heavy bio momentum based style is just, it really is quite impressive. And again, the first game, so much of that came down to micro. This game, and we talked a lot about not the game, guys, but here we go. This game, SpeCial opened up with a lot of Marines, just literally one Hellion for scouting, didn't get punished as he goes directly into a battle cruiser. A couple roaches showed up, it'd be a bit painful, but the battle cruiser could even be a sign that he might be playing into mech and battle mech, which is getting more popular. The factory is floating, but Yamato's on the way, so it definitely should be mech.
Mm-hmm. How many VCs do you think he's going to make? I feel like
3.
Okay, and you think he stops then?
Well, I think when this was a really popular opener, it was 3 was the default, but I remember people starting to experiment with 4, possibly even 5, basically saying, I think the Zergs are going to try and cut the corners on the corruptor count, so I'm going to get them, and it kind of worked.
Yeah, we do have extra barracks going down already in the main base of SpeCial, so it's all okay. I don't know. All right, we're going to jump to the other side of the map. He jumps to the top left side of Gresvan. Elazer's got a Spore Crawling Ace. He got 2 Queens. That should already be decent enough, but it's still important as a Zerg that you pull your drones away, right? Because BCs have a buttload of HP, so don't think you can just gun this bad boy down without pulling your drones, because then you're still going to end up losing 10 plus workers, and the game suddenly becomes, well, rather dicey.
I was wrong, by the way. I was going to mention that SpeCial probably is the one guy I can think of who has done multiple battlecruisers with Yamato into bio. And that is what we're having here. But definitely, it is the weirder way to play. If Elazer doesn't get a direct scout into the main, but yet he sees Yamato or a second battlecruiser, he should absolutely be thinking that it's mech, because that is just the 95% of the time situation. But SpeCial is special.
Yep, we even dropped a mule there in the top side of the map. That's why I was oohing. A bit surprising. I guess he really wants to go for the double 1-2 wombo combo of 2 BCs showing up on the other side of the map. A little bit of a link scout there for Elazer. Could be big, of course, right? Just to keep an eye on these marine numbers and to see what is the follow-up of SpeCial. Because I think the last thing that Elazer wants to do is build a bunch of roaches, assuming it's mech, and then suddenly it's not mech. So I like these scouts here by Elazer. I think that's very important for him, because I have never truly loved the roach play of Elazer against bio, while I think with Link Bane, he's excellent.
Well, I just saw the sheer amount of Marines. The second battlecruiser shouldn't be as confusing. It might still be a little bit of like a, oh, maybe it's a SpeCial thing, but he should know. I actually wonder if SpeCial could have hidden the amount of Marines and still only showed 10, because he did open up with a reactored Marine opener, right? So that wouldn't have been weird. But he showed like 20, and that's a little bit too much. So Elazer should have a clear idea, and then just knows these 2 battlecruisers will be annoying, but you don't really want to build a Spire for Corruptors against only 2 battlecruisers and facing a bio player ultimately.
No, exactly, because then you're going to end up with 10 Corruptors. You're like, okay, I can deal with the BCs, but then you just lack Links and Banes on the ground. And if the Marines then stim forward with 1-1 upgrades and a little bit of medevac support, it can just be a little too much to deal with as a Zerg, and it will obviously snowball immediately. But I think Elazer knows exactly what is up. I really like the 16 drones or so that he just fired up there, knowing that even if SpeCial wants to move out rather soon, it's very unlikely that after those 2 BCs and the triple CC setup, that he would already be on the move out. So don't make all the links of like the 68, 70 something drones. No, crank out those 16 extra workers, and then we can start worrying about having a proper army to deal with the bio. I just think it's well done by Elazer, but it's very important, right? These little things, that it flows well from the Zerg side of things.
I completely agree. Also, one thing I was going to point out, maybe after this little tussle, the battlecruisers coming with the Marines was certainly an intention to once again surprise a Zerg player who's trying to cut those corners, but Elazer was basically prepared. His queens weren't so far out of position away from the Ling Baneling and vice versa. But what I wanted to point out was that the creep spread really is very far, because SpeCial basically did no harassment effectively, and the harassment he tried was all on the main base. It was the battlecruisers teleporting. Absolutely zero Hellions trying to control the creep spread or queen number. The queen number has been reduced thanks to this particular push, but Elazer is quick to rebuilding them.
Yeah, I definitely think the queens were a little bit too far ahead of the party. Can we take a look at how many queens have gone down in this game? Because I think we're looking at, wow, 9 queens already in a 9-minute game. And I feel like SpeCial was 1 hit away there from getting an additional queen there. So it could have been 10. The Marine's going to step forward one more time, but there are Banelings in the mix. These Banelings do have speed. And this time around, Elazer is doing a better job in protecting the queens.
Yeah. I don't want to harp on it too much, but I just kind of want to propel my former statement forward into the rest of this game, mid-game and the late game, because SpeCial really didn't have a lot of pressure into the early game and is basically surprised that the battlecruiser didn't do a whole lot. Elazer is at that point, which I'd say, I think we would say Zerg feels oppressive, especially on Gresvan. You know, all this creep spread, the bases, the macro hatcheries, but unlike maybe a Serral in this situation, Elazer doesn't go directly to the hive, which I'm actually not a fan of, but I do like the fungals. They're not out yet, though, and this is going to be 2 battlecruisers and 2 medevac drops.
Yeah, that's actually very cool, right? Dropping 60 Marines. It's like, okay, you can send a couple of links over, but then the 2 battlecruisers show up as well. These first 2 queens are going to get Yamato'd immediately. Like, Elazer definitely has more than enough units to deal with this, but not before losing the spawning pool. And then we have to go back to a couple of the other macro issues we've seen earlier in the days for Zerg players whenever things don't go quite that way anymore. Because what else can he produce at the moment? Is it just infestors, or do we at least have that Hydra Den? Okay, we have a
Hydra Den. And he is close to maxed out. He's going to take this fight. Those banelings were actually single file, so the tanks got really good shots. He burrows the baneling, something that I don't think Special was actually paying attention to, but he scans, he misses one. That's not even popped anyways, so it would have done a tremendous amount of damage, but not killed the Marines. Now he goes for it. There we go, after that stim. That was about as, I mean, the initial fight just wasn't very pretty, plus the loss of the spawning pool, plus the battlecruiser still being a pain.
And
yeah, Lasers lost out.
And like 7 Marines in the main base, just going absolutely ham, killing 10 or so workers, now starting to work on the lair. Special picks up more units, flies them all into the main base. That spawning pool is finally done, but all the queens have been forced to be battling too for a while. So that means there is probably not all that much larva, and look at the money just spiraling out of control for Elazer. 2,800 minerals, and there is just no way for him to spend it at the moment.
Yeah, he'd be maxed out again if he could just go ahead and spend it. But the queens, they've been so busy, they've been dying. They have not been injecting a whole lot, and they have to be always busy. So they are in position to try and handle this drop, but there's just seriously so many medevacs that the queens, well, weren't even target firing to begin with, are all going to go down instead, and the Elazer is going to have further macro problems as he adds on 3 more hatcheries to try and alleviate this problem. He still has to deal with the Marines coming at him from multiple angles. Fungal is pretty good, and the Hydras are here as well. Do manage to get the most loaded medevac, and hopefully, for Elazer's sake, they also can grab these couple of battlecruisers.
That's going to get tricky. There are 9 Hydras on the way. Special Stevie Z in this tournament has just been really fun so far. Last week, he blew us out of the water with an amazing best of 3 against Raynor. Against Cyril, didn't quite go his way, but it was still pretty decent overall. And here so far against Elazer, we're just having a very fun best of 3 with really cool strategies. The double BC here into bio. It's a bad day to be a queen. Every single queen that has tried to battle has been picked off. We do land one more Pongo on the Elazer side of things, but the tanks there will go completely uncontested in the back, and I do feel that we are moments away from this game ending, unless Special lets his foot off the gas and he lets Elazer spend all that money that he's been sitting on, then we could still have a game.
Yes, I do agree about that. Special might think that he's got this locked up because Laser is struggling so much, but might be not taking into account the possibility of a huge bank that can explode, and then suddenly Special's like, oh, hold on a second. It's still a bad game overall, even if Laser could get maxed out, just because he is missing that very vital hive technology. Vipers would be extremely helpful against some of these tanks, but it seems like he's not even going to get maxed out anyways.
What is it with this ramp? Why do they keep running up these ramps on the crop? Like the services have not gone well, and I once more understand it. It's scary when Terran is already there in the center of the map, but these are just not the engagements. Only from one angle, all from the left side up that ramp. There was a bit of a meat grinder. Because don't forget that we do have some comeback mechanics in this game for Elazer, right? He's got Burrow. He's very good with Burrow Banelings. We have a couple of infestors roaming the map. We are landing some good fungals as Elazer gets a much better fight this time around. Gets all these tanks as well. Like, it really does not have to be 300% over, but obviously we cannot take fights like the previous one on this absolute ramp of death for the Zerg players so far today.
Yeah, and that's going to continue being a sore point. Again, no Vipers, lack of creeps right over there. That's going to be a presence that Special can place and just basically bully a Laser there.
I think the Hive is done now, right?
Sorry, the Hive is done, I think you're right, but Vipers aren't out. No gas. Elazer has not been able to saturate his gases at any of these bases that he has. Of course, the new one's going to get clobbered by the push-outs, and Elazer can just try and max out on Lings, which he's still struggling to do, thanks to how many queens have died. I definitely want to keep a count of this. 20?
17. 23! Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous for a 15-minute game. Special still all over this base in the top left side. We'll get this hatchery as well. BC still chilling. Elazer is gonna come in from multiple angles and get some top of the tank, gets a couple of bio units, and actually momentarily takes the supply lead, Zombie Grub. So if we can now put that gas that you mentioned into a couple of Vipers, I wouldn't hate it all that much. Instead, we're gonna push it into 21 Banelings. I have the feeling that Elazer is getting a bit carried away here.
Oh, yes, he is. Those Baneling cocoons are in range of a tank. They all just got blasted. Fungals do come in, but it's not particularly effective fungals when the tanks are anchoring like they do. SimCity, Marauders on a Medivacs, all that good stuff. Elazer clearly got just gut punched at the exact wrong moment. His plan was to deal with the battle cruisers exactly like this. He wanted to get those infestors to fungal the battle cruisers, to get the hydras underneath them, and then he would no longer have to worry about it. That would have saved him probably 10 queens. I am not joking, if that had timed out correctly, but then it also was accompanied by all the pressure, all the drops. But another good fight for Elazer. SpeCial. That was a bit of a disaster. Elazer's going to be very thankful for taking up all those tanks.
I think we had a queen flank there as well. Those queens were burrowed, and they suddenly unburrowed.
Oh, no,
here we go. Planetary is in a lot of trouble as well as the Banelings will roll in, blow up the SCVs. 18 SCVs go down. The PF goes down. Tanks are on siege right now. Wheels are coming up for both of these guys. One more fungal lands. More Medivacs go down. More tanks get fungaled. What on earth is happening? Suddenly, SpeCial is starting to run out of money, while Elazer is still sitting pretty at 2,000 minerals in the bank.
I think it happened. Elazer had all that bank that SpeCial just couldn't possibly know about, even if you do try and just always assume, you know, Zerg players, what even are they? But he just got so energetic and so, you know, feeling he had so much momentum that he just kind of threw armies away. He was not at all cautious about how he was moving up the top right. Initially, it was kind of excusable, but then the one afterwards, where his tanks were mostly on siege and entirely just collected together, I mean, that was really bad. I got to be critical, at least for that one moment. Otherwise, it's been a very back and forth game, a hard game to call, and both of them are showing some grit. But you're right, both of them are also showing some wheels coming off the bus here, man. It's just spinning out of control.
Command center is in a bit of a pickle as Elazer is going to split up the Hydras. Hydras will be able to get plenty of shots off, and I think at the bare minimum it should catch fire. A few more hits and it will start burning, and that obviously means that it is in trouble. But SpeCial's probably looking at this and be like, well, that really sucks, but at least I can actually get an army up again. Because at one point he was completely running out of battle units, and that base in the center of the map is no longer a planetary fortress.
Yes, that is true. That's going to be vulnerable from here on out. That's a lot of units to give away for a hatchery, actually. Some lings with, well, not too good of upgrades, but that was still decent enough. I would say Elazer's okay with that loss, especially because he still has 1,800 minerals in the bank, and he is trying to replace 2 hatcheries right now. SpeCial has once again been forced to let his foot off the gas as he's running around with Medivacs, losing possibly another command center to the Hydra attack. Nothing's responding so far, so absolutely that command center is gone.
Yep. I don't think that SpeCial had the confidence to unsiege the tanks one more time, because the last few times we unsieged a few tanks, we were in serious trouble. SpeCial now has a whole bunch of supply tied up at the bottom left side. It kind of feels stuck, and I'm just surprised that Elazer has still not made a single Viper. Just imagine one Viper there, you get an abduct off or a single parabomb in the middle of these Medivacs, you'd be absolutely cooking. But Elazer does not believe in the Vipers today. What he does believe in is Adrenal Glands that has just finished up, +2 and 34 Banelings as he's ready to attack SpeCial one more time. It is going to be off creep though. Like, I'm not sure. Obviously, a lot of supply is still stuck in the bottom left side, but running into that many tanks also feels a bit crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, SpeCial has been doing Elazer favors. He has been giving up tanks. But defensively, that should never happen. You need Vipers to help you out here. But Elazer disagrees. He's going to go for it. The Lings do get on top of a lot of the tanks, but there's still a depth to them. The SCV is obviously vulnerable, but at least the Orbital can say that it lives. Special supply is still going on down. The bio is just not impactful enough, so a lot of the tanks, for a lot of that fight, were kind of on their own, and that is what Elazer took advantage of.
Yep, SpeCial still trying to evacuate these forces in the bottom left side, but he sees that it's not safe to go home yet with Hydras there. Honestly, impressive fight there by Elazer. Did not think it was going to go that well, and this is going to be a disaster. A fungal could land, and a fungal will land. One Medivac dies immediately. The second one will go down to the damage of the fungal. What is happening? Elazer fighting off creep. Everything comes in from the top left side, runs into 12 tanks, and in the end, in a weird way, that was a victory for Elazer. He got SCVs and he completely reset the tank count.
Yeah, because SpeCial didn't have enough bio to hold its ground to protect those tanks. It really is a synergy, you know? 27 tanks have died. 6 of them or whatever was in that last fight, but then probably 8 of them were just in bad user error, honestly. Now, SpeCial is going to try and get something going again, try and make this a little bit more of a back and forth, since the last 2 minutes has been all Elazer, but this also is not working out nearly as well as it was earlier alongside those battle cruisers. SpeCial has lost all of the momentum, and now he really needs to just turtle. That is legitimately his only option. Turtle, maybe 1 drop, okay, sure, but hope Elazer continues to be overly aggressive without Vipers, and you know, maybe that'll help you out.
He never got +3 bio armor either, and like not the most impactful upgrade ever, but it just kind of feels it in a game like this where SpeCial was maxed out, that eventually you expected him to have it. Elazer is slowly but steadily really catching up in the upgrades. I do love the SimCity here by SpeCial. That bunker makes your life so much easier, because you can't ignore these links with Adreno Glands and +2 melee. Even depots are going to fall very quickly. SpeCial supply is getting higher and higher. We're gonna do that previous fight one more time, all over. This time around there's way more bio in the mix. Zombie grub, is it good enough for SpeCial?
It still might be. So many of the tanks going down. The Marines, they're made because of the cheapest thing to make. SpeCial was pretty much broke for the last couple of minutes, now forced to tap out as Elazer takes the 2-1. An unexpected results overall, considering what we were talking about prior to this match. And then on top of that, one hell of an unexpected series.
An even more unexpected result if you would have just shown me a screenshot of this game. Like, I forgot what timestamp it was, but maybe minute 11, minute 12. After that fight in the center of the map, it really looked like Elazer was all out of steam and he was just going to get rolled over, but did a great job at hanging in there. That one burrowed painting also getting a great juicy connection, and especially the Infestors. Like, I don't know if Pig is still up and watching these games, but Pig talks about the Infestor, I think, more than anybody else on this planet in this matchup, mostly when it comes to battle mech, but the Infestor really shined here. An incredibly entertaining back and forth game 3, and in the end it is Elazer who will move on to the qualifying match. Let's see what the boys in the Colaris Dome have to say about that.
Oh, he said it, the Colaris Dome, we're back, yes! That being, never mind that. Gee, what was this series? 10 minutes ago I walked up here thinking, the game's over, SpeCial's going to take this series. Anything but. What a recovery coming out from Elazer here. Cats and Artosis joining me. Cats, this was, well, the start of the series was bizarre enough. So was the mid, and then the last game for Elazer to recover. There's so much to talk about.
There really is just so much to talk about. I mean, that first game was hectic for sure, and I think SpeCial made a little bit of a mistake there. For example, when he went down the ramp, I understand jumping on the Ravagers while they don't have vision, but he wasn't really syncing up his shots. So like Roddy said, the Ravagers output a lot of damage, and then you're spreading the damage across the Ravagers. So that was a sloppy defense in a sense for SpeCial, as now we have that game here. But yeah, the third game, I mean, no business winning from Elazer after he made some crucial mistakes, right? Like running up a ramp on the north right hand side of the map, like running up the ramp off creep with all of the Zerglings leading, and then Banelings and a couple of Hydras trailing behind into Marines and tanks sieged, you know. And it's also not just the ramp, it's also the corner that you have to turn for the melee units. It was just horrible, right? And it's like, how do you recover from that while floating so much money? And I was on the same boat as you. I mean, I was trying to think of jokes about how many queens had fallen, and like comparing that to maybe like the amount of queens that have fallen in England. I think it's a 3-to-1 ratio. Like he literally lost so many queens. I thought that was going to be the story of this game. It's just how hard Elazer was losing. But then I mean, 50 supply, I don't know, it disappeared. It was weird.
Yeah, the highlights brought to you by Aramco here. Dan, as we take a look, that was the end of Game 2. And then Game 3 occurs, where, were you in the same boat as us? Did you also think SpeCial had this?
Dude, first off, those were the best 2 battle cruisers in the history of the game. Okay, like seriously, the tactics he was utilizing, repairing with the mules, keeping them out, the way that he was doing the drops with the BCs, he killed the main hatchery twice, guys. Twice. Okay? Yeah. Like, and no one even goes battle cruiser into bio. It's so rare to even see. So yeah, no, I was sure after game 1 that SpeCial had the series, honestly, with how he played that. But yeah, this was kind of shocking when Elazer came back. It really did feel like Zombie Grub and Roddy were saying that SpeCial needed to turtle. I think he kept the pressure on a little bit too long. You know, eventually Zerg gets to a point where you literally just have to sit there for a few minutes.
Yeah, and for Elazer, honestly, mid-game is absolute his wheelhouse, Cats. If you're thinking about those kinds of armies, those Ling, Bane, Hydras, give me another Zerg in Europe that has as much experience with that comp than Elazer. I don't think it exists.
I don't think so. Yeah, mid game. I mean, that was kind of like going into the late game, but he still continues to play the mid game, right? Like that's just the Elazer. It's relentless aggression once he has his economy set up. And I mean, there were some sloppy mistakes there. I loved the infestors as well, and the problem was his first 2 infestors were actually mistimed as well.
Right.
Where he started pathogen glands and he didn't wait until it's about halfway done, but made the infestors a little bit earlier, so they popped out without energy. It was looking really, really dire. And then like the fight that they mentioned as well, where he tries to go up the ramp in the middle of the map, that was also just crazy because his banelings were trailing so far behind that by the time anything of your army has any chance to connect, all of your links have died. And then I don't know how on earth he ends up turning that game around and winning, but at least he does so in a Elazer fashion, right? Like that swarm style that we wanted to see from him, and it ends up working out.
It was amazing. What a series. It's really made up for the fact that we've been speed running the rest of the day. But anyway, let's take a look at the bracket now and confirm what we know now with Elazer making it through into the qualification match here. And now he's waiting for the winner of Showtime versus Astrea. Again, I can't help but reiterate, I did think this series was over. I thought SpeCial had it, but Elazer, what a miraculous comeback from him. Of course, Dan, when a comeback like this occurs, it does also require maybe a mistake or 2 on the side of SpeCial, and you guys talking about the fact that, you know, maybe he overstayed his welcome on the aggression in game 3. It certainly resonates. It rings true.
Well, you know, game 1 and game 3 were so unusual that we spent a lot of time like talking about those and analyzing those. But honestly, game 2, with the fact that he was literally playing like it was vanilla StarCraft 1 with no medevacs for multiple minutes of fighting, like he was actually, I felt like he was in a pretty good spot there. That was a game that could have gone towards him if he had the medevac unit. It's an important unit.
Imagine that. All right,
I know it's hard to believe, but like it heals your army. It makes your army last so much longer. Instead, he's like stimming and attacking everywhere. It's like he looked great, but he forgot a very important part.
Yeah. And Widowmine friendly fire also hurts a lot. I know a lot about that. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you. It is time to head to a break. When we return, it's the final series of the day. It's going to be a PvP. We're really changing gears here at Gamers Without Borders. Join us right after this.